Assalamu alaikum. So today in this video we will do the remaining part of the glycolysis. We will proceed from the reaction number 4, that is the conversion of fructose 1,6-bisphosphate in the presence of aldolase to dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Over here, the aldolase, some important points about aldolase are: the aldolase has many isozymes. The hepatic isozyme is aldolase B. So, aldolase B is involved in the conversion of fructose 1-phosphate to dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. This aldolase B is not involved in the glycolysis process, but it is a point which is extra than the glycolysis. That the aldolase B converts the fructose 1-phosphate into dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Now, the question is where the fructose 1-phosphate came. Actually, when we eat sugar, that is table sugar, it consists of fructose and glucose and fructose. So it contains both. There is also glucose metabolism, which we see through the glycolysis, and it is involved in the conversion of glucose to pyruvate to extract the energy out of it. So what about fructose? There is also the fructose metabolism. So in this, the fructose 1-phosphate, actually what happened, that this is a cell and this is the liver and this is the blood. Okay, so here comes the fructose. This is GLUT2. So here comes the fructose. Fructose is converted in the presence of fructose kinase. Like glucokinase, we also have fructose kinase to fructose 1-phosphate. This fructose 1-phosphate is then converted in the presence of aldolase B. Here I will write only B. Aldolase B to dihydroxyacetone phosphate or glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Okay. So now the reaction has two options. As these are the intermediates of glycolysis, the reaction can proceed to pyruvate, or it can also convert it to, or it can also go towards the glucose 6-phosphate, then glucose 1-phosphate, and towards the glycogen. Okay. So this was the cycle. And through this, it can also forms the basis of the gluconeogenesis. Okay, so if aldolase B is not present, if it's deficiency of aldolase B, when I also only wrote the B. The deficiency of aldolase B causes. Okay, first discussing the deficiency, let me tell you that fructose 1-phosphate also affects the glucokinase, which is the enzyme of the glycolysis. Okay, so if fructose 1-phosphate is actually directly proportional to glucokinase. So when aldolase B is not present, this is not present, so fructose 1-phosphate will accumulate and glucokinase will also accumulate. Over here there is glucokinase. Okay, will also accumulate, due to which there will be more glucose 6-phosphate, and glycogen will not be broken down to glucose 6-phosphate, and we will not have any glucose, and so there will be no glucose in the blood. And as there will be no glucose in the blood, the patient will be suffering from hypoglycemia. Okay, so now we come back to our glycolysis. So in the glycolysis, the triose phosphate isomerase is then converts the dihydroxyacetone phosphate to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So from one molecule of fructose 1-phosphate, we got the 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Okay, so now then we have the conversion of, in the presence of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. So in the presence of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase, we have the 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. Bisphosphoglycerate. Also, here you should notice that there is the production of NADH. This NAD is converted to NADH. This is the first oxidation reduction reaction. This is the first oxidation reduction reaction of glycolysis. And this NADH can then go to ETC, electron transport chain, and can do oxidative phosphorylation over there. And one NADH molecule is equivalent to 3 ATP. The same reaction is going on the other side also. So there will be 2 molecules of NADH will be produced. Now, the 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate will be then converted to 3-phosphoglycerate. 3-phosphoglycerate. Okay. It will then be converted to 3-phosphoglycerate in the presence of 1,3-bisphosphokinase, or it can also be called as phosphoglycerate kinase. So in the presence of phosphoglycerate kinase, 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is converted to 3-phosphoglycerate. Over here, there is the production of ATP, ADP and ATP. It is important to note over here that these are all reversible reactions. So the ADP and the ATP will be formed, and the 2 molecules of ATP will be formed as same reaction is going on over this side also. So this is over here substrate level phosphorylation is formed. As you can see that the phosphate is donated by a substrate. That this was originally the 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. Now this is 3-phosphoglycerate. It gave its 1-phosphate to ADP and formed to ATP. Okay. Our next step is the conversion of 3-phosphoglycerate to 2-phosphoglycerate. But before going on to that, first discuss the details of this reaction. So let's discuss about this reaction in detail. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is converted to 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. Over here, ATP and over here NADH is also formed. This is NADH. Okay. So 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate is formed, Actually, there are also a side reaction over here going on, and that is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is converted by mutase to 2,3-bis-phosphoglycerate or 2,3-DPG, diphosphoglycerate. So, in the presence of mutase, this reaction is going on in RBC, and this 2,3-DPG is very important as it transfers it catalyzes or it transfers the oxygen more readily, as this is the hemoglobin molecule, and these are its beta chains. And oxygen, there are oxygen pockets over here, that hemoglobin is carrying oxygen. So actually 2,3-DPG will bind these beta chains together and these beta chains together, and these will narrow the oxygen pockets and oxygen will be released. Now to this diagram. Actually this aldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase has certain pockets for inorganic phosphate, for NAD, and for glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Actually what happens that when there is more arsenic, there is arsenic poisoning, and it competes for the pocket on which inorganic phosphate is attached. So over here arsenic will come, and instead of, as you can see in this reaction, that glyceraldehyde from glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate 1,3-bis-phosphoglycerate is formed. This means that it has donated its one phosphate, so that it has become 1,3-bis-phosphoglycerate. So now arsenic will be transferred to 1,3-bis-phosphoglycerate, and there will be no NAD production and no NADH production, and there will be no ATP production also. And it directly shifts to that reaction. It directly shifts to the 3-phosphoglycerate in the presence of phosphoglycerate kinase. Also here you should notice that this is NAD, and from NAD, NADH is produced. So NAD stores are depleting in the cell. So cell has two options: whether the NADH is then oxidized back to NAD and pyruvate is oxidized back and pyruvate is converted to lactate, or NADH is sent to the ETC. It is then sent to ETC, and it forms the ATP over there, and this is the glycolysis reaction in which NADH goes to ETC, and one NADH molecule is equal to 3 ATP. So it forms the ATP over there, and this glycolysis reaction needs some energy to run. Okay, now it is then converted to 3-phosphoglycerate, and in the presence of ADP is converted to ATP. Then this 3-phosphoglycerate is then converted to 2-phosphoglycerate in the presence of mutase. Okay, now this 2-phosphoglycerate is then converted to phosphoenol pyruvate, which is also known as PEP, in the presence of enolase. This is converted into this, and 2-phosphoglycerate is converted to phosphoenol pyruvate in the presence of enolase. Actually, enolase is also inhibited by fluoride. Fluoride is used in the toothpaste, so it reduces the incidence of dental caries, as it reduces the lactate production by the mouth. So it reduces the dental caries like this. Okay, now phosphoenol pyruvate is then converted to pyruvate. This pyruvate is converted in the presence of pyruvate kinase. And this pyruvate kinase is actually, let me show you a bigger picture. Actually, this pyruvate kinase is affected, or it is promoted by the fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. This fructose 1,6-bisphosphate acts all the way to the pyruvate kinase over here. So this is known as feed-forward mechanism. That fructose 1,6-bisphosphate, when it is in abundance, it acts on the pyruvate kinase to get ready to receive the products and to ready itself to convert the phosphoenol pyruvate to pyruvate. This was the main overview of glycolysis. Thank you.